The Witcher franchise is loved by millions, and while there's been a lot of rumors and speculation about the future and what is going to happen in terms of new video games, we do know The Witcher 1 is getting a full-blown remake, and while we've all been pretty excited to hear news about it, now the developers are saying that they are not afraid to remove aspects which are bad, outdated, and need to be remade. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, since this was announced, there has been a lot of speculation as to what these words truly mean and what could be different or removed. This is a IGN article I wanted to start with. It says The Witcher remake developer Fool's Theory isn't afraid to change aspects of CD Projekt Red's original, which are bad, outdated, and need to be remade, which first of all, a lot of people are wondering if they are still going to respect CD Projekt Red's original game, if it is going to end up being a fantastic remake that simply updates some of the features like gameplay and whatnot. But if you do not know who Fool's Theory are, they are a company which does a lot of project support, and they have worked on several good games and some other questionable games. So they worked on Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity Original Sin 2, which are both highly praised games, and Gord, which was a title that was actually made by a group of ex-Witcher developers, another fantastic game in my opinion. But then they also worked on things like Outriders, which in my opinion is one of the worst games I have played. It was such a lackluster experience, from the gameplay to the story to the bland and boring world. So they do have quite a few hits, quite a few misses, but of course they were chosen to do this, so one would assume they're gonna know what to do with this remake. They are going to understand kind of the task at hand and what fans expect out of this. But this interview is not sitting well with people. It says, speaking to Edge magazine via Games Radar, the CEO, Jacob Rakaz, made clear not every part of 2007's The Witcher will appear in the highly anticipated remake, though didn't give any specifics as to what will and won't make the cut. First and foremost, we need to be honest, down-to-earth analysis of which parts are simply bad, outdated, and need to be remade, he said. Fool's Theory will simultaneously be highlighting the parts that are great, should be retained, or are direct key pillars that cannot be discarded. Now, of course, the original Witcher game, while I personally love it and I do have a lot of love and nostalgia for it, it was known to have really awkward and strange combat mechanics that were never seen again in the franchise. So it is possible this system will be overhauled in some way, shape, or fashion. Also, the side quests and monster contracts are still staple to the franchise, but they could do with some fine-tuning and some updating. But yeah, open world, combat system updated with all the same story mechanics and dialogue untouched are truly what we want. But when it comes to the story and some of these story-based mechanics in the game, that's where we're all getting worried, because of course Witcher 1 famously is known for having its romance/sex cards. Basically, you find women throughout the world, you romance them, and if you have sex with them, you end up getting these sort of trading cards for them, which I know is a feature that has been highly scrutinized over the years. And while I would hope that this would not be removed, obviously when we're just hearing a very generic answer of things that are bad, outdated, and need to be remade are going to be changed, it definitely raises a lot of red flags. And I do think it's extremely to point out that the Witcher franchise, whether we're talking about the books or the video games, even the show, is rooted in adult themes, violence, gore, sex, nudity. Like, these are things that could never be completely removed from The Witcher, because at its core, it has these extremely intense adult themes. So while I do not think that we could ever get a Witcher game that is completely toned down and devoid of things like sex, I do think that they definitely would view a system like a sex trading card, mini game basically as being at least what they would call too offensive and not modern enough to make it into a remake. Of course, websites like The Gamer over the years have claimed that this mechanic is misogynistic, it is not okay, it should not be brought into any sort of remake, and this was even before the remake was actually announced. Now, while I do love The Witcher 1, I do think, again, there are some things that I would love to see updated, like the combat system, but of course, some believe now that these controversial and offensive deemed by many things could be removed. And another reason why I personally think that this could be the case is because only a few years ago in 2022, the creator of this controversial, as some people call it, feature actually said he would love if it was cut from the remake, because he has come out and said that he regrets turning anyone into a mindless sex addict, and he does not work at CD Projekt Red anymore, and he is not working on this remake. But when you have a creator of something coming out and saying that it shouldn't exist in modern day, which of course in my opinion is absurd, that could be an element which may be ultimately removed, and this person's thoughts may be, echoed. The sentiment may be echoed going forward. I mean, game developers now commonly remove things that are deemed too offensive in modern remakes for the sake of acquiring ESG money, so it's not unlikely the moral changes will be made for this effort. And of course, CD Projekt Red over the years has definitely focused on those sweet ESG points. This is from their website directly, and the webpage is called ESG Approach. It says CD Projekt Red Group's approach to managing ESG issues is presented in a video which the member of the board, CFO responsible for ESG reporting, outlines our ambition for the next few years related to labor, social, environmental, and corporate issues. So, of course, CD Projekt Red going after those sweet ESG dollars, plus with the original creator of this mechanic saying maybe it's too outdated for a remake, definitely has a lot of people worried. Now, I want to keep my hopes high for this. I really hope that we will not see any major changes like this. Again, I think there are some things that could be updated. We could see open world, we could see this updated combat system, but as long as it has all of the same story mechanics and the dialogue is untouched, I would be happy with that. By saying bad and outdated, they should only be referring to the controls, clunky mechanics, UI, inventory system, things that are not the dialogue, story, or anything like that. Ultimately, it's still going to be years until we find out what this remake is going to entail, if they are going to try to stay as faithful to the original as possible while simply updating some of the features that are in the game. Or if they might dive head first into removing things willy-nilly like these romance/sex cards. Only time will tell. This is not going to be coming out for at least a few years. As far as we know, it is only just really getting into development. From what we understand from all of the press releases we've done, we haven't, of course, gotten any kind of teasers for this. We've only gotten the official announcement. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I will definitely be keeping my eye on this situation because I love The Witcher. I know so many of you love The Witcher, and I would hate for another remake to come out and completely tone down the content that originally existed and people were originally pretty happy with. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.